Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nerdy Needs VGC Mid-Season Showdown. We've gone through our 4 rounds of Swiss, and we have determined our top 4 cut, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Carlino. Once again, I am here to cast our top 4 matchups, ladies and gentlemen, and we have 4 of the best Florida players fighting it out for the chance to call themselves the Nerdy Needs VGC Mid-Season Showdown Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get started momentarily with our first game. It is going to be our number 2 seed, Kyle Ayala, versus our number 3 seed, Jeremy Boyd. Both trainers you guys have seen on stream in the past for this tournament, guys, and they have some of the greatest teams out there. Kyle running that King Gambit, Landorus, Therian, Clefairy, Rillaboom, Ogerpon, Wellspring, and the Hisuian Arcanine with that support Will-O-Wisp set, as we saw in round number 2, where he was able to defeat Matt Stevenson with the combination of Will-O-Wisp and the King Gambit. Meanwhile, Jeremy Boyd is running that Chien-Pao, Rillaboom, Iron Hands, Fluttermane, Arcanine, Hisui, and Gashani. So we do have a guaranteed Hisuian Arcanine making a final in the VGC Mid-Season Showdown. Kyle, as you see here, he was the 2023 Columbia Special Event Top 8 and received a Day 1 invite to the most recent World Championships in the Masters Division out in Yokohama, Japan, which is very impressive, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, Yokohama, great setting, great environment. I'm sure everybody who went out to Worlds was having a blast. And meanwhile, on Jeremy Boyd, he was the top 8 in the 2022 Salt Lake Regionals, and he was a region qualifier for the Players' Cup 4 in Sword and Shield days. And the Players' Cup 4, one of the greatest online tournaments that has been out there. Honestly, it was a lot of fun being in the Players' Cup 4, just trying your best at it with some of the players in North America that were competing. It was an absolute honor and a privilege to be a part of it. But looking back at their teams with Chien-Pao and the Arcanine Hisui, that Choice Bandit, Hisui and Arcanine can be a problem. The Iron Hands being able to help Jeremy Boyd defeat Jackson McMillan and make top cut, with the Terra Grass being able to live hits from that Sylveon despite getting critical hit twice after the terrestrialization through the Assault Vest, was absolutely incredible. And honestly, like, just being able to do that, having that Chien-Pao be able to break through that Dondozo, playing through the double attack from Rillaboom and Chien-Pao into the Iron Hand slot, basically leaving Jackson out to dry, which was absolutely incredible for Jeremy and his team. Meanwhile, Kyle, he managed to play very well throughout the tournament, playing against guys like Brady Smith, playing against guys like Matt Stevenson, and that Clefairy and Rillaboom can be a major threat on his side. But that wild card is the Hisuian Arcanine, rocking that Will-O-Wisp, and Jeremy's team is full of physical attacking monstrosities. But we have to keep in mind, though, Will-O-Wisp does have that 85% accuracy, so there are chances that it will miss at the most critical of junctions. So it's very possible that they could hit, but it's very possible they could miss, and a missed Will-O-Wisp could be detrimental to Kyle's team. Meanwhile, Jeremy looking ready to get this game 1 underway. Kyle and Jeremy, they are locking in their teams. It is going to be an incredible first start to this top 4 cut here at the Florida VGC Mid-Season Showdown. Game number 1 is about to get started, ladies and gentlemen, once our trainers have officially locked in and they are ready to go. And honestly, I don't know who you guys are predicting to win in the comment section down below, whether it be Kyle or whether it be Jeremy. But both these trainers, they are looking to get to that finals and earn themselves more points towards a potential 2023-24 season Worlds invite. Kyle Ayala, Jeremy Boyd, game number 1 of our top cut is officially underway. And Jeremy leads with his Gastrodon and his Iron Hands versus the Landorus Incarnate and the Arcanine Hisui. And right off the bat, this is a very interesting matchup as Arcanine and Landorus out on the field is big. Iron Hands and Gastrodon is also big for this. And Landorus, being the Incarnate form, it is running the Sheer Force Life Orb combination, which means that all of its attacks will get a major power boost by virtue of the Sheer Force and the Life Orb, but the Life Orb will not do any recoil damage while boosting the power of any of Landorus's moves. So Earth Power will do major damage without dropping the special defense, Sludge Bomb will do major damage without poisoning, and Sandsear Storm will do major damage without burning. As we see Arcanine switch out into the King Gambit, a fake out comes into the Landorus slot. Landorus flinches, and Gastrodon goes for the yawn into the King Gambit. And King Gambit is starting to get a little bit tired here. Now Gastrodon and Iron Hands are thinking long and hard about what they want to do. What is their trainer, Jeremy Boyd, going to ask them to command for an attack here? Meanwhile, Landorus took that first turn being flinched. As Kyle switches out the King Gambit and brings in Ogerpon Wellspring. Landorus goes for the Protect here, tries to ensure it does not take any damage this turn. Iron Hands goes for the Drain Punch, does good damage on the Ogerpon as Gastrodon tries to yawn the Landorus, and Landorus protects itself, preventing it from growing drowsy. Now Kyle and Jeremy are both thinking long and hard about what they want to do in this specific setup right now, as Ogerpon can go for a theoretical Horn Leech into the Gastrodon, but both sides do have their Terra still around. And the question is, will see Jeremy activate his Terra Orb. He is terastallizing one of his 2 Pokemon. It is going to be the Iron Hand terastallizing into a Grass type. And Gastrodon goes for the Protect, trying to bait out a Horn Leech potentially in the Ogerpon slot, and Ogerpon does end up going for the Horn Leech into the Gastrodon, which protects itself. And Landorus goes for the Sandsear Storm. This is now going to be a resisted hit on the Iron Hand, and it still does major damage thanks to the Sheer Force and the Life Orb, but the Drain Punch comes out, and Ogerpon takes some more damage, under half health, but Iron Hands gets back up with some more HP, almost back to full health. Jeremy goes and withdraws his Gastrodon here. Brings in Rillaboom. Rillaboom comes out, activates the Grassy Surge. Ogerpon goes for the Horn Leech into the Rillaboom, gets some recovery back. And Landorus goes for the Sludge Bomb, a double target into the Rillaboom slot. Rillaboom is down. Kyle Ayala gets the first knockout of this battle as Iron Hands goes for the Drain Punch into the Ogerpon slot and once again gets more recovery. But meanwhile, Ogerpon does get recovery via the Grassy Terrain recovery. Jeremy sends out his Gastrodon once again onto the battlefield. Ogerpon goes out for the spiky shield here, trying to bait any attack while doing damage. Landorus goes for the super effective Sludge Bomb, does well over 50% to this Iron Hands. Iron Hands went for the Wild Charge into the Ogerpon slot. Ogerpon protects itself, so Iron Hands takes more damage than it ought to need to. Meanwhile, Gastrodon does go for the Yawn into the Landorus slot here. Now with that Yawn out, Landorus potentially switches out. It does. Kyle opts to switch out the Landorus so it does not fall asleep on this next turn. Brings back Arcanine out, and Arcanine's Intimidate lowers Iron Hands' attack now. It is -2 on the physical attack as Gastrodon goes for a Protect here. And Ogerpon tries to go for the Horn Leech once again into the Gastrodon, but unfortunately it does not. And Iron Hands goes for the -2 Wild Charge. It is not enough. It is not enough for the Iron Hands. That attack drop is unfortunate on the Iron Hands. Gastrodon tries to go for the double protect here. It does not work. Ogerpon goes for the Horn Leech. This is 4 times super effective with the Grassy Terrain boost. Gastrodon is down. That is a one-hit knockout. Gastrodon falls to the Ogerpon. And Arcanine ends up going for a Flare Blitz into the Iron Hands. This is now super effective, and it does enough. Iron Hands goes down. So now Jeremy Boyd is down to his last Pokemon, and Kyle Ayala has all 4 of his Pokemon still left to battle in this game number 1 of Top Cut, ladies and gentlemen. And his last Pokemon is the Chen Pao. Meanwhile, Kyle Ayala is thinking long and hard about what he wants to do with this Chen Pao. This Chen Pao rocking the Life Orb, but Jeremy Boyd opts to concede for game number 1. Kyle Ayala 4-0 win over Jeremy Boyd. What a performance by Kyle. Now, Jeremy was able to make top cut by forcing a game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. So this round is not over by any stretch of the imagination. However, the way that Kyle was playing, the way that Kyle was switching out his Pokemon and playing to his strengths and advantages, playing around the yawns that Jeremy was trying to do, playing around the Terastallization, forcing the Terastallization on the Iron Hands, and being able to do major damage through the Assault Vest with that Landorus having Sludge Bomb was absolutely insane. Alongside Ogerpon being able to one-hit knock out the Gastrodon East with a 4 times super effective Horn Leech, even though Gastrodon was trying its best to protect 2 times, which does have a chance of happening, but unfortunately in game number 1, it did not happen. And with Kyle not opting to bring either Clefairy or King, or actually no, he did bring King Gambit that first game. It just never really did much in that first game. So he never brought Clefairy and he never brought Rillaboom in this set yet. It's a possibility that Kyle might opt to bring them in game number 2 if the matchup so dictates it, because Chien-Pao and Rillaboom on Jeremy's side can be a major threat with priority Grassy Glide and priority Sucker Punch, boosted by not only the Life Orb, but a Miracle Seed and the Sword of Ruin. And also, Jeremy having that Arcanine in the back, having his own Intimidate user could pay dividends on any move that he chooses to use against Kyle's Pokemon. But we're about to get set into game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Will Kyle Ayala be our first finalist, or will Jeremy Boyd force another game 3? We're about to find out, because this battle is starting right now. See Jeremy switch it up on his lead. He brings Chien-Pao and Gastrodon. Meanwhile, Kyle bringing out the Arcanine, Hisui, and the Landorus, getting that Intimidate off, which is very big, as Chien-Pao is a notoriously powerful physical attacking Pokemon. But now with that lowered physical attack, it will be interesting to see how much damage Chien-Pao will do with any of its moves. However, there's always a possibility that Chien-Pao might switch out here. That could potentially affect the overall utilization of the Chien-Pao and the Gastrodon for that matter. As Kyle opts to switch out the Arcanine and brings in Ogerpon Wellspring. And Kyle opts to go for the Terastallization as Terra Orb is activated, and Landorus Incarnate becomes a Poison type. So now those Sludge Bombs with the Shield Force and the Life Orb are going to get even more power thanks to the Terra Poison. And Chien-Pao goes for the Icicle Crash, but Landorus avoids the attack. The 90% accurate move avoids, and Chien-Pao goes down a one-hit knockout into the Chien-Pao. Meanwhile, Gastrodon goes for the Earth Power. This is a resisted move into the Ogerpon Wellspring. And suddenly Kyle Ayala is up 4 Pokemon to 3 as Rillaboom comes out, activates the Grassy Terrain, and that powers up not only Rillaboom's attacks, but it also powers up Ogerpon Wellspring's Horn Leech. See the Terra Orb activate on the side of Jeremy Boyd. Gastrodon is engulfed in crystals and pops out with a fiery Chandelier as Gastrodon goes from a water and a ground type to a pure fire type. And Rillaboom goes for the fake out here, flinches the Landorus. Horn Leech comes out. It is not very effective on the Ogerpon, but now with Gastrodon being a fire type, it essentially is going to wall the Ogerpon because Ivy Cudgel would activate Storm Drain. As Gastrodon goes for a yawn into the Landorus, and Landorus grows drowsy while it does get Grassy Terrain recovery now by virtue of it becoming a poison type instead of a ground and flying type. Meanwhile, Gastrodon gets much needed recovery from the Grassy Terrain and the Leftovers recovery. Kyle opts to make sure his Landorus does not fall asleep here. Switches it out into the Arcanine. Arcanine coming back out onto the field, activating its Intimidate and lowering the power of Rillaboom's physical attacks here. However, Jeremy maybe preemptively saw that and switches out his own Rillaboom for the Iron Hand. Ogerpon goes for the Horn Leech, does more damage now because of the Grassy Terrain, but Gastrodon opts for the Earth Power. It's a 4-time super effective move, and Arcanine, a one-hit knockout. Arcanine is down. What a play by Jeremy Boyd there, getting the Arcanine with the Earth Power. That is a one-hit knockout, and suddenly Gastrodon is playing up to its strengths, but it also is now gonna have to deal with this Terra Poison, Landorus Incarnate, and an Ogerpon Wellspring. Jeremy opts to switch out his Gastrodon here. And he brings in Rillaboom once again. And now with Arcanine being down on the side of Kyle Ayala, there is no more Intimidate cycling that can happen as Kyle opts for the protects on both his Ogerpon and his Landorus Incarnate. Iron Hands goes for the fake out into the Landorus spot, which is probably the proper play as Ogerpon going for the spiky shield. If Iron Hands would have used fake out into that slot, it would have taken damage by virtue of the spiky shield. Opposing Rillaboom opts for the fake out into the Landorus Incarnate. Landorus will flinch this turn. However, Iron Hands, what move did it opt to go for? It went for the Wild Charge. This is neutral damage into the Ogerpon, but it does not do enough. Ogerpon now gets the Grassy Terrain recovery, and Landorus and Iron Hands all get the Grassy Terrain recovery thanks to the Rillaboom. Rillaboom goes for the Grassy Glide here, knocks out the Ogerpon. Ogerpon is down. Rillaboom gets the KO, which could be beneficial. This is a Sheer Force Life Orb Earth Power, and it does enough. Iron Hands is down. Meanwhile, it's a 2v2 now, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Gastrodon and a Rillaboom versus a Landorus Incarnate and a King Gambit. Meanwhile, the grass did disappear from the battlefield at the end of that turn, ladies and gentlemen, so no more will Grassy Glide be a priority move, and no more will Grassy Glide and Woodhammer be boosted by the grassy terrain. However, they will still get boosted with the Miracle Seed. Just remains to be seen what is going to be chosen by Kyle and Jeremy for this specific turn. Gastrodon opts for a Protect here. And Landorus went Earth Power into that Gastrodon slot. Gastrodon protects itself, surviving itself for one turn. Rillaboom goes for the resistant Woodhammer, and it does just over 50% to this Landorus Incarnate as Kingambit goes for the Swords Dance. And Gastrodon gets that Leftovers recovery once again. Landorus goes for a Protect of its own, trying to survive one more hit. As Gastrodon tries to opt for a double Protect, it fails. And Rillaboom went for the Woodhammer into the Landorus spot, but Landorus protects itself, and therefore it survives. And this is a +2 Black Glasses boosted Kowtow Cleave. It is enough. Rillaboom is down. And now it is a Gastrodon versus the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is the, oh boy, this is an end game here, ladies and gentlemen. But Jeremy opts to concede the battle. Kyle Ayala advances to the finals of the mid-season showdown. What a performance by Kyle Ayala, ladies and gentlemen, and what a performance by Jeremy Boyd, managing to make it to the top cut of this mid-season showdown. Oh boy, that was an incredible matchup. But Kyle being able to set up his Pokemon, getting those protects off properly at the right possible times, avoiding those yawns from the Gastrodon was incredible. Gastrodon essentially was walling the Ogerpon Wellspring at the start there once a Terra fired. However, once Ogerpon went down, that essentially opened the door for Kingambit to come in and set up Kyle's endgame. So Kyle is our first finalist, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to get our second semifinals matchup. It's going to be, and also by virtue of Kyle winning, we are guaranteed a Hisuian Arcanine in the finals. Once again, another VGC event where a Hisuian Arcanine makes the finals of a TPCI sponsored event. However, we've still got one more game left, and it's very possible that a Hisuian Arcanine could be on the other side facing Kyle, as we're going to have Hunter Braum versus Brady Smith. Brady Smith is our #1 seed in this VGC mid-season showdown. Hunter Braum, our #4 seed, advancing on the opponent's win percentage, best finish of our X2 players. And we are going to get to that momentarily, ladies and gentlemen, as Brady and Hunter are going to get connected and get into this the stream match, so we can start talking about their teams. However, again, their teams are very good. We know Brady is running that Chien-Pao with the Sinistcha and the Heatran, that Sinistcha being able to get those clutch hospitality recoveries at the precise moments, and that's how he was able to advance and win his games, going undefeated in Swiss. No small feat in its own right. And meanwhile, Hunter, his Urshifu Tornadus setup, very effective. His Flutter Mane is booster special attack, ladies and gentlemen. That means it is a modest Flutter Mane, which is something to note, that it is of that variety, that it gets the special attack boost as opposed to getting the speed boost. But it is a very good Pokemon. And his Golden Go, unfortunately, the last time he got locked into Make It Rain, which was unfortunate. But without a Pokemon such as a Heatran in front of it, Golden Go specs Make It Rain after a Terra Steel is absolutely insane. But we're going to take a quick break, guys, and be right back with our semifinal matchup.